Chosen one, each time your outline appears at the edge of a doorway, the atmosphere edits itself. Conversation thins for a breath, laughter drops to a lower register. The invisible scaffolding of the room rearranges by instinct rather than decision. This is not spectacle, and it is not accident. It is the quiet geometry of a man whose energy does not spill. You have learned to keep your fire in a hearth, and because it is contained, it warms. Because it is governed, it guides. The feminine feels this long before she admits it to herself. Skin notices first, then breath, then posture. Her gaze rises as if tugged by a thread that predates the moment. She is not hunting for you. Her body is remembering you. You do not hurry the air when you arrive. You let the space tell the truth. Your cadence refuses panic. Your presence refuses need. Your eyes refuse to bargain. Nothing in you pleads to be recognized. Everything in you recognizes itself. That self-recognition is the magnet. The feminine does not gather around volume. She gathers around coherence. And coherence is what you carry. The alignment between what you want and what you will wait for. Between what you could take and what you choose to honor. Between how you move and what you mean. In that alignment, longing becomes safe enough to step forward without disguises. She remembers you in layers, chosen one. The last time your attention landed on her without crowding, the last time your silence made a chair for her honesty, the last time your laughter felt like permission rather than performance. Those memories live in her muscles, not just her mind. And so each new sighting is not a blank beginning. It is a continuation. The body keeps ledgers. It records who rushes, who steadies, who listens, who collects, who blesses. Your column has entries written in small, durable lines, unforced eye contact, a voice that carries warmth without wobble, a step that never turns closeness into cornering. The ledger is why she looks up when she hears your name and why her pulse answers before she forms a thought. You hold the room without holding anyone hostage. That is the difference. Your sexual energy moves like gravity, not like glue. It does not stick people to you, it orients them. Near you, the frivolous wants to sit down. The essential wants to stand. The feminine senses that your attention is a consecrated thing. You do not spend it cheaply, and you do not weaponize it to win. When your focus finds her, it does not strip, it clothes. It does not interrogate, it invites. The invitation is simple and therefore irresistible. Show up as you are and see if the ground holds. She tests that ground in microscopic ways. One unedited sentence, one unpracticed expression, one unguarded laugh. When the floor does not give way, the draw intensifies, not as a rush, but as a widening. You are not a performance stitched together for applause. You are a practice lived when no one watches. She can feel the hours behind your ease, the disciplines behind your softness, the refusals behind your restraint. This is why the sight of you is never merely pleasing. It is persuasive. The body trusts what has been proven in private. You do not announce this proof. You let its echo travel ahead of you, like weather. She recognizes the shift before she can name the cause. The noise in her mind recedes a notch. The vigilant parts of her take their hands off the controls. In that small clearing, desire does not have to shout to be heard. It lifts its head, checks the sky, and starts to walk. There is a way your stillness carries motion. You can stand without freezing. You can watch without withholding. You can wait without withering. The feminine reads these paradoxes quickly. They are the alphabets of her intuition. She sees that you could step faster and do not. That you could close distance and choose instead to draw a line in light and let her cross it if she wishes. Lines like that do not confine, they consecrate. In consecrated space, the heart remembers its vowels and the body remembers its breath. That is why she is drawn again and again and again, not because you are unpredictable, but because your predictability is alive. It is never dull. It is dependable, the way tide is dependable, the way dawn is dependable. Not identical, but faithful. You are not here to audition for anyone's hunger. You are here to steward your own. That stewardship is audible in the timbre of what you do not say, visible in the decisions you do not make for other people, and palpable in the distances you keep not from fear, but from reverence. Each of those choices teaches the room how to treat the moment. The feminine learns by osmosis. Pleasure without pressure, nearness without capture, attention without appetite. Once learned, the lesson cannot be easily forgotten. The eye returns to the teacher. The body follows the eye, and the draw between you becomes less like a fuse and more like a field, steady, honest, generous, alive. Chosen one, repetition is not redundancy when presence evolves. Every time she sees you, the mind compares and the body concludes. The comparison is brief. Last time he was rooted, now he is rooted and rested. Last time his smile contained something I could trust, now it contains something I can lean on. The conclusion is simple and sweeping. This man did not spend the weeks between our meetings bleeding out his integrity. He kept it. He added to it. This is why the draw intensifies with each encounter. It is not novelty that compels her. It is compound interest. You are not a fixed picture on a wall. You are a living line that holds its curve as it lengthens. The feminine notices growth without restlessness and consistency without stagnation. It shows up in micro-gestures. The way your greeting is unhurried but alert. The way your attention does not rise and fall with the applause level. The way your boundaries feel like edges designed to keep beauty inside, not keep people out. She does not have to guess whether today's version of you will embarrass yesterday's promises. Your word has learned endurance. Your eyes have learned kindness that does not coddle. Your touch, whether given or withheld, has learned the difference between taking and tending. This accrued learning is the magnet. It makes every new sighting a fresh confirmation rather than a fresh negotiation. You allow memory to assist desire instead of arguing with it. The last moment you shared is not a cliff to jump from, nor a trophy to polish. It is a foundation to build upon. Foundations are quiet. They are also what make houses habitable. When she sees you, her body receives the subtle signal that nothing crucial was dismantled in your absence. The beams are still true. The plumb line still says yes. In a culture addicted to the drama of reset, you offer the stability of continuity. Continuity is not boring to a woman who has had to rebuild herself after collapses. Continuity is joy. It is the relief that frees her tenderness to venture further from its hiding places. Your sexual energy does not beg to be felt. It behaves like a river that refuses to become a flood just to impress the banks. You hold your depth without splashing, and paradoxically, that restraint is the invitation. She steps closer because the current is legible. It is strong enough to carry, not violent enough to sweep. You do not quicken the flow to hurry her. You allow cadence to do its ancient work. Cadence announces without words that this approach respects what it approaches. Respect is the most reliable accelerant. It shortens the distance between strangers and deepens the distance within which intimacy can breathe. Your gaze does not arrive empty-handed. It brings recall. It remembers the detail you did not have to remember, the turn of phrase that revealed her courage, the silence that held a boundary, the laugh that unclenched a crowded hour. When your eyes locate her across a room, that memory is in them. Memory is a mirror that does not flatter, it dignifies. She feels returned to, not discovered as if for the first time and only for the moment's thrill. Return is a rarer romance than discovery. It requires intention. Intention is audible in your hello and visible in your exit. You do not enter a scene like a storm and leave like smoke. You arrive and the room steadies. You leave and the meaning holds. The evidence accumulates. Her draw toward you hardens from sensation into trust. You live with a center that can host other people's weather. The time since she last saw you has not made you brittle. You are not looking for a place to unload your chaos. You have already composted it into patience. That is why her shoulders drop a fraction when your silhouette appears. She is not subconsciously preparing to manage you. She is subconsciously preparing to meet you. There is a difference, and it is everything. Managing requires armor. Meeting allows openness. Openness is the door through which desire walks in without apology. You refuse to market yourself to the moment. Marketing tries to convince, meaning simply exists. She is drawn because you are not packaging heat, you are housing it. The house is made of decisions, sleeping enough to be kind, working enough to be humble, praying enough to be honest, laughing enough to remember wonder, saying no enough to keep your yes expensive. These are not slogans, and you would never post them. But they are visible anyway, the way a well-built bridge is visible to the feet that trust it. She can cross the span between you without testing every plank. Each sighting strengthens that confidence. Feet remember. There is a discipline in you that never turns punitive. Your standards lift the room without lowering anyone's dignity. The feminine moves toward forces like that because they do not require her to shrink to fit. On the contrary, your standard calls her stature out of hiding. She finds herself standing taller around you, speaking in her true voice, choosing in her true name. The draw becomes mutual. Your presence calls forth her presence, and her presence calls forth more of yours. Gravity is not a grab. It is a mutual agreement between bodies. You are not pulling her across the floor like an object. You are being exactly what you are, and bodies that want truth cannot help but move toward it. Chosen ones carry this effect wherever they go. They do not chase attention, they cultivate conditions. They do not hoard devotion, they host dignity. Each time you are seen, you reprove what the first seeing suggested. You are a man whose heat does not burn the house, and whose light does not blind the eyes. In a world that confuses flicker with flame, you remain steady. The feminine recognizes steadiness as sanctuary. She returns to it as often as it appears because sanctuary is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And so the draw continues, not as a trick of chemistry, but as the honest choreography of two presences meeting on ground that holds. Chosen one, what draws her each time is not shock or spectacle, it is recognition. The moment her eyes meet yours, something in her quiets the way a compass needle stills when true north enters the field. She is not chasing a thrill, she is locating a reference point. Your sexual energy does not arrive as a surge that shouts, it arrives as a tone that tunes. The body hears it first, shoulders unhook from their habitual brace, breath descends from the throat back into the belly, attention narrows without shrinking. You have become, through 100 private choices, a steady frequency, and frequencies this clean are rare in a world addicted to static. She does not need to remind herself who you are. Her nervous system remembers for her. It remembers that your attention is never a trap, that your proximity never mortgages her freedom, that your words do not wobble when pressure knocks. The ledger of those memories lives beneath language, and it updates itself every time you enter the room. You keep a courtesy for thresholds that most men rush past. You do not lean into her silence to harvest secrets. You let her silence ripen until it wants to be spoken. You do not make eye contact a net, you make it a bridge. Bridges do not capture, they carry. When she steps onto that span, she feels the engineering beneath it, your restraint bolted to your intention, your desire riveted to your respect. This is why the draw strengthens with repetition instead of fading into familiarity. Each sighting adds weight to the structure. Where novelty would demand a bigger performance to maintain attention, presence asks only to remain true. She notices the difference the way skin notices weather. With you, the pressure changes before the rain arrives. Conversation grows more honest, jokes stop hiding ache, pace settles into something sustainable. She does not have to calculate how to be around you. She is permitted to be, and being is the rarest luxury. You are not confused about edges, and edges are what make closeness safe. The lines you keep are not walls, they are the frame that lets a doorway exist. A doorway is not a command, it is a choice. She feels chosen precisely because she is never cornered. It would be easy in the electricity of a glance that lands and lingers to press for outcome and call it chemistry. You decline that ease. You do something costlier and more magnetizing. You let meaning keep its pace. You let your posture say the sentence your mouth does not need to speak. I can hold this. When the feminine meets a man who can hold a moment without wringing it dry, desire migrates from adrenaline to devotion. It is slower, yes, but it is also truer. It stays. There is an architecture to your presence that she reads with a single look. It shows up in simple places. The way you stand without blocking anyone's path. The way you smile without bidding for applause. The way you listen without reaching for a story to compete with hers. These are not tricks. They are habits, and habits reveal substance, the way grain reveals the truth of wood. She traces that grain with her attention and feels the continuity she has been starved for. Continuity between what you want and what you will wait for, between what you feel and what you can steward, between what you can do and what you should do. The chosen ones carry precisely this consonance. It is why eyes find you across a crowded room without knowing they were searching. Consonance is easier to move toward than noise. Your stillness is not absence, it is prepared motion. When you do step closer, the step arrives clean, not as a lunge but as a line that was already drawn and is now being traced. She can trust a line that was measured before it was made. And when you remain where you are, the staying carries the same integrity as the coming near. Either way, you have refused to make her longing carry your uncertainty. You manage your own questions so that hers can be asked without penalty. That management is erotic in the oldest, sanest sense of the word. It builds aliveness instead of borrowing it. Each time she sees you, she recognizes the craft and is pulled by the outcome. Not to be owned, not to be impressed, simply to be near what reminds her that desire can be intelligent without becoming cold, warm without becoming wasteful, holy without becoming distant. Chosen one, repetition reveals whether a man is rehearsing an image or maturing a presence. Each time she sees you, she tests without testing. Did the core hold? Did the edges soften? Did the center grow kinder without losing strength? Your answer is written before you speak. It is in the unhurried way you greet the room, in the way your attention does not hunt novelty to keep itself awake, in the way your boundaries arrive as hospitality rather than as defense. You are not the same man she saw last week, and yet you are exactly the man she remembers. Evolution without theatrics is the secret architecture of enduring attraction. It gives the heart something to count on and the imagination something to explore. You carry updates the way a tree carries rings, visible if you look, humble if you don't. She notices that your joy has become quieter and therefore deeper, that your ambition has lost its jagged edges and learned to include rest, that your opinions can stand without pushing. Your sexual energy has learned the same lesson. It travels through you like current through a well-built wire, no sparks where there should be none, full illumination where truth asks for light. That steadiness is not stiffness, it is readiness. It lets play be playful instead of performative, intensity be focused instead of frantic, affection be generous instead of grasping. She feels the cumulative effect in her body. The reflex to brace has nothing to do. The reflex to blossom has somewhere to go. Every encounter becomes a chapter in a story that respects continuity. You do not pretend the previous chapter did not happen, you build on it. If laughter opened a door last time, you do not arrive now with heavy philosophy to prove depth. If gravity sat between you last time, you do not force levity to avoid being seen. You let the thread you both touched continue through the fabric. Threads like that do not tangle when a patient hand keeps them. Your patience is not passivity. It is the discipline of refusing to make a moment bigger than its truth or smaller than its promise. She senses that discipline most in how you complete what you begin. You close loops. You answer the message you said you would answer. You end the evening with care instead of vanishing into noise. Completion is the ethics of desire. It teaches memory to trust. You keep the sacred ordinary. You treat a hello as a threshold rather than a formality. An exit as a blessing rather than a disappearance. You let pauses have their place so comprehension can catch up to feeling. You allow glances to be language without turning them into leverage. In the economy of such care, the feminine experience is a rare relief. She is never required to abandon her self-respect to keep the voltage high. Voltage under your stewardship is a byproduct of alignment, not a product you manufacture by pushing. Because you do not manufacture, nothing feels counterfeit. Because nothing is counterfeit, everything can grow. Purpose is the quiet baseline under all of this. You live to something larger than appetite, so appetite can take its rightful place, honored, honest, never in charge. She reads that order in the cadences of your schedule more than in the phrases of your speech. You show up for your work and it makes your presence dependable. You show up for your rest and it makes your presence sweet. Dependable and sweet is a combination few men learn. It is the combination that keeps the draw from souring into suspicion or burning out into boredom. She learns that each new sighting will add depth, not complications, clarity, not clauses, wonder, not whiplash. And when friction comes, as it must wherever anything real is alive, you do not let it become a spectacle. You let it become a teacher. You adjust without theatrics, apologize without dissolving, clarify without cutting. Repair with you is part of rhythm rather than a break in it. Knowing this, her desire is free to stay open even when questions arise. She does not have to withdraw to stay safe. She can remain and be heard. Remaining is what deepens wanting into choosing. Choosing is what makes attraction endure beyond the shimmer of first sight. Thus, every time she sees you, the pull renews not by accident but by design. Your design, built quietly in the unglamorous hours, and the design of a life that has decided to treat desire as something to steward instead of something to spend. This is the signature of the chosen ones. They do not add noise to be noticed. They remove noise so that what is true can be felt again. And feeling what is true, her eyes find you again and again and again. Chosen one, what pulls her toward you each time is not a single spark but a refrain. Familiar, honest, and increasingly resonant. A refrain gains power because it returns with integrity. So do you. She notes the quiet consistencies, the way a musician notes a rhythm section, the way your shoulders settle instead of puff, the way your hands rest with purpose instead of fidgeting for effect, the way your greeting carries warmth without a hook hidden in it. These are small things to spectators and anchoring things to the body. Every sighting teaches her nerves the same lesson. Nothing frantic lives here. Your sexual energy is not a sales pitch. It is a practiced instrument, tuned before the doors ever opened. She hears that tuning, and the draw begins before a word passes between you. You keep an economy of attention that makes the whole room breathe easier. Attention, in lesser hands, is harvested. In yours, it is offered. You do not skim faces for validation. You let your gaze land like a benediction where it belongs and pass by where it does not. She sees you thank the unnoticed, return a chair to its place, yield the way without turning it into theater. None of this is performance. It is the grain of your character, visible the way the grain of oak is visible in a well-made table. Grain is what hands trust. Each time she sees you, her hands, metaphorical and real, trust a little more. Trust amplifies attraction the way resonance amplifies a note. Without effort, only truth. You are legible without being predictable. Legibility means she can read your stance without fearing that it will change when the crowd does. Predictability would mean you never surprise her. You do, often, but it is the surprise of depth, not the surprise of volatility. One day your laughter arrives with a layer of rest she has not seen on you, and it lands on her like soft rain. Another day your quiet carries a new decisiveness, and it frames the moment without hardening it. These updates do not ask for applause. They ask for presence. Presence is what she brings more of each time she sees you, because presence is what you teach by example. You do not ask her to be more alive than you are willing to be. Your sexual energy behaves like a lighthouse lens rather than a spotlight. A spotlight chases. A lighthouse anchors. The light you carry rotates on a base of discipline. Sleep earned, work honored, solitude faced, prayer kept. And because of that base, your light can turn without wobble. When she catches its beam, she does not feel hunted. She feels oriented. Orientation is rare enough to feel like magic when it is simply maturity. The body recognizes maturity with relief first and longing second, often in the same breath. Relief says, I can relax here. Longing says, I want more of this. The two together are the draw no spectacle can counterfeit. You respect thresholds the way a master carpenter respects load-bearing walls. You know how much weight a moment can carry and how much it cannot. Where some would push until splinters fly and call it passion, you measure until grace fits and call it wisdom. She watches you make choices that protect the architecture of belonging. You end conversations cleanly instead of letting them fray. You circle back to a name you almost missed. You let a question rest when answering would only perform knowledge, not serve it. Every act of stewardship fortifies the bridge between you. Bridges do not force crossing, they make crossing safe. She keeps crossing, and each crossing lowers the river of doubt until there is more land than water between you. You do not let intensity substitute for intimacy. Intensity is easy to stage, louder laughter, nearer bodies, bigger gestures. Intimacy is quieter. A sentence finished without interruption, a memory handled without extraction, a boundary honored without a lecture. The quiet things accumulate. In their wake she notices a new texture to the hours after you leave. There is no residue to scrub off, only coherence to carry forward. Coherence is the aftertaste of truth. The next time she sees you, that memory, primes her openness before a single nerve decides to guard. Being drawn becomes less like a leap and more like a return. The miracle is not that she returns, it is that the return keeps widening what is possible. You let your desire be directional instead of desperate. Direction asks, where is this meant to go if it is honest? Desperation asks, how fast can I get what I think I want? She reads the difference instantly. Direction makes room for her sovereignty. Desperation threatens it. Direction can pause and deepen. Desperation must escalate to feel alive. Because your energy moves by direction, not desperation, the moment does not balloon for spectacle or collapse from fear. It holds. Holding is what ripens wanting. Ripened wanting is what keeps calling her eyes back to you across bustle and noise, across weeks and seasons. The call is steady because the caller is. You are not trying to become unforgettable. You are trying to be true. Unforgettable happens to truth the way fragrance happens to a garden rightly tended. It clings without clinging. She smells that honesty even in crowded air. The scent is not cologne, it is congruence, the alignment between your speech and your practice, your promises and your pace, your strength and your softness. Congruence is the signature of the chosen ones. It looks unremarkable to the impatient and irresistible to the awake. She is awake now, more each time she sees you, because wakefulness loves a steady light. Your steadiness keeps waking her. Chosen one, proximity is an art, and you practice it like a craftsperson who apprenticed under time. You modulate distance with a musician's ear, not a tactician's playbook. Too near without consent is theft, too far without purpose is neglect. You choose a third way, near enough to be felt, far enough to be free. The feminine recognizes this as rare custodianship. She has known men who collapse space to create a rush and call it chemistry, and men who hoard distance to feel powerful and call it mystique. You do neither. You let the room breathe until the room tells the truth. The truth, once heard, draws her feet a step closer without being told to move. You hold conversation like a potter holds clay, firm enough to shape, gentle enough to keep the vessel from thinning where it should be strong. Your questions invite. They do not invade. Your listening has a spine. It does not sag under the weight of what it hears, nor does it harden to protect you from feeling. She brings more real substance because substance is what you honor. The more substance she brings, the more your desire has to bless, and blessing is the only movement your desire will make. Blessing does not barter. Blessing does not bargain. Blessing recognizes and says, I see what is sacred here. I will not make it smaller to make myself feel large. You are fluent in repair. Most attractions rehearse beginnings and ignore the craft of middles. You do the opposite. You tend to the seam while it is small. A misread tone gets named before it breeds stories. A late reply gets owned before it writes a myth. A fear gets room before it turns into armor. Repair in your hands is not crisis management. It is daily maintenance, done with the same matter-of-fact care as sharpening a blade or oiling a hinge. She is drawn to you again and again because you do not confuse drama with depth or silence with safety. Depth is the habit of telling the truth at a humane volume. Safety is the habit of staying present while you do. Your sexual energy is not an engine idling for permission to roar. It is a current aligned with purpose. Purpose does not make you ascetic. It makes you accurate. Accuracy is mercy. It keeps flattery from stealing time. It keeps haste from calling itself passion. It keeps curiosity from dressing up as interrogation. Under accuracy, her body stops negotiating with itself. The yes that forms on her tongue is hers. The no that forms on her lips is welcome. You hold both like a craftsman holds tools, never by the blade. That respect is not a technique. It is the natural behavior of a man who has made peace with his own power. Power at peace does not need to prove itself. It needs to protect what is worthy. She feels protected by the way you protect the moment. You practice a liturgy of small completions. You finish the story you start. You circle back to the question you parked. You close the loop on the plan you proposed. Completion is a nervous system's favorite love language. It teaches the body that it can stop bracing for the next disappointment and start investing in the next step. Each time she sees you, she carries the memory of completed things like a map. Routes that begin and routes that arrive. Maps collapse distance. What once felt far now feels reachable, and reachability is magnetic. The more reachable the truth between you becomes, the more her longing prefers you to the static of lesser rooms. You keep your curiosity warm. Warm curiosity is the opposite of control. It asks, not to gather leverage, but to gather wonder. You ask about what shaped her, not to enter it and rearrange, but to honor it and understand. You let her pace write the paragraphs. You let her silences be punctuation, not problems to solve. She learns in your company that nearness can dignify complexity instead of simplifying it for comfort. Dignified complexity is a garden, not a maze. In gardens we linger. Lingering is the birthplace of deeper desire. The next sighting of you is not a new start. It is a return to a path that now has flowers where there was once only soil.